If you're confused at the thought of running a virtual parent-teacher conference, then you're gonna wanna stick with me. Because in this video, I'm gonna share with you 14 best practices when it comes to implementing and executing virtual parent-teacher conferences. By the end of this video, you're gonna have 7 best practices when it comes to preparing these parents for these virtual parent-teacher conferences, as well as 7 best practices to keep in mind during these virtual parent-teacher conferences. Before we jump into things, if you take nothing away from this video, be sure to bookmark our free back-to-school resource hub. In it, we provide a ton of free resources that will help you in your distance learning as you navigate this school year. Without further ado though, hit that like button if you're excited and let's jump into these best practices. First, let's jump into 7 best practices when it comes to preparing parents for virtual parent-teacher conferences. Tip number 1, before your conference, prepare a one-pager that essentially outlines the student's progress. Here, you're gonna wanna share with the parent the student's data, goals, as well as how they're trending towards their goals. It's also helpful to include some of the more qualitative points. This can be things like covering the behavioral performance of the student, as well as social or emotional skills of the student when interacting with both you as well as other students. The reason why this is so valuable is because this prep sheet is going to help frame the conversation and provide a structure for your virtual parent-teacher conference. The second tip that we have is before your conference, you're going to want to call or email the parents to share some of the things that you've been observing. This can cover things like the challenges, the issues, as well as the successes of the student. Tell the parents exactly what you've been observing in your virtual classes and be ready to share some examples of those instances of certain behaviors. This is also a good time to share that one-page reference sheet with them so that they have a heads up before you send it over to them. The reason why this is so important is because we have to give the parent a clear why as to why this meeting is important. If they know exactly what we're going to be discussing and why we're discussing it, then they can be more invested in the success of their student. It also allows the parent to potentially be even more collaborative and supportive of the student's need, which then makes your life easier as a teacher. The third tip we can give you for best practices is to make sure that you're also asking the parent for any topics or issues that they want to address in the particular meeting. Be sure to ask your parents what issues, challenges, subjects, as well as successes that might be helpful to discuss about the student. It's really important that you don't forget to also talk about the positives when it comes to these conferences. Be ready to jot down what they tell you in a Google document or in a notepad. Then, after the initial call or email, you're going to want to summarize these and add them to your one-pager so that they know that you are listening to them about the needs that they think their student has. The fourth best practice when it comes to preparing parents for virtual parent-teacher conferences is to make sure that you let the parent know that you can loop in an administrator if needed. Sometimes during more serious meetings, parents might feel more comfortable when they know that an administrator is also in the room with the two of you. By simply mentioning that this is an option for some parents can help reduce some of the anxiety that they might be experiencing in terms of talking about their students' particular needs. It also is a great way to show your total dedication to the student's success and wanting to meet their needs as best as you can. Tip 5 is that when you're wrapping up your initial reach out, you're going to want to ask the parent if there is, again, anything that they want to cover in the conference. This way, you're giving them a final say in terms of anything that potentially didn't come up in the earlier conversation threads via email or call. Tip 6 is at least 3 days before your scheduled meeting, you're going to want to send over instructions to the parent as to how they're going to be able to join into the conference call. We recommend doing this with a pre-recorded tool showing you opening the platform as well as joining the conference link. You can use a software like Loom or Screencastify to record your screen as you create these instructions. Remember, not all parents are as tech savvy as you, and so you want to make it as accessible as possible for every parent. You might also find it helpful to share some of the infographics that have been really popular on the web when it comes to setting up virtual conferences. This can take some of the lift off of you in terms of writing out those initial sets of instructions. The final best practice is to create a how-to guide for accessing the video platform that is written out to supplement the video that you just made in tip number 6. The easiest way to do this is to create a template or a how-to guide that you will then share with parents in your email outreach to them that shares that video that you recorded in the prior tip. In the template, you're going to want to include instructions as to which video platform to use, how to access it and download it, as well as the direct conference meeting link that the parent should use. If you're finding this video helpful so far, be sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button with that notification bell so that you can get notified the next time that we create another distance learning video. Also, if you find it helpful, we've linked to a blank parent-teacher conference preparation sheet that you can start using today. All you need to do is use the link in the video description below to access the accompanying resource. Now that we've gone over 7 of the best practices for preparing parents for parent-teacher conferences, let's transition to talk about some best practices when it comes to actually being in these parent-teacher conferences. The first tip we can give you is to make sure that you're remaining friendly and solutions-oriented throughout the course of the conversation. Let's face it, parent-teacher conferences can be intimidating because you don't really know always where the parent is going to be coming in from when they jump into that conference. So by staying friendly and positive in the conversation, you can make everybody in the conference feel a little bit more at ease and start to build rapport with one another. If you feel like the conversation is going off way too far into a tangent or just something off the agenda and you want to get it back on track, use one of these 3 sentence stems. The first sentence stem you can use is, "Student shows great enthusiasm for pretty much anything we do in class. However, they're having some difficulty with area of concern or whatever you're observing." The second stem that you can use is, "Student still needs growth and support in subject or behavior of need. That being said though, they have grown in their independence." The third stem you can use is, "Students' positive academic or behavioral trait has truly helped make my year a positive one." The second best practice during these conferences is to actually refer to your preparation sheet. You spent all that time getting it ready, so you need to actually use it. Use your sheet to reference specific examples from class that demonstrate a particular behavior that you'd like to discuss with your student's parent. The preparation sheet will help your conversation be way more grounded and targeted in terms of the discussion that's had. It's specificity that makes these conversations really productive because the parent can then go back after the conference and discuss with their student what they discussed with you. The third tip we can give you is to make sure that you're being aware of your body language. It's really important that you're not giving some negative body language when you're communicating these sorts of important messages to your students' parents. Negative body language can be being really tense, crossing your arms, or just something in which it doesn't really demonstrate that positive, solutions-oriented vibe that we outlined being so important in tip number 1. Even if this student isn't your absolute favorite student, try not to demonstrate frustration or fidgety movements when you're trying to communicate the meaningful feedback that you have to share with your student's parent. Remember, the purpose of these meetings is to discuss the student's academic performance as well as their social emotional skills and their behavioral routines. Make sure that you're sharing student work that demonstrates either progress or stagnation in particular areas in your class. Sharing direct examples of work will also allow for a more productive conversation with the parent of your student. Best practice number 5, don't forget to ask questions as well. It's really important that you don't jump into sage on the stage lecture mode in which you're just telling the parent everything that you're seeing about their student, and that it's an actual conversation with the parent. Be sure to ask parents questions not only related to the academic performance of students, but also the social emotional skills that the students need to be developing. Here are a few question stems that you can try for yourself. Number 1, have you noticed any new developments in students' behavior at home? Number 2, would you like to share any of the challenges that the student might be facing that I'm currently unaware of? Number 3, how do you envision the next steps in students' development? By asking these open-ended questions for the parent, you can get a better glimpse as to the complete student that you are trying to meet the needs of. The 6th best practice that we have for you is to make sure that you make plans to communicate further. During your virtual parent-teacher conference, you're going to want to establish the follow-ups that both of you are going to have, as well as the mode of communication that's going to work best for the two of you. If, for example, you decide to chart student progress in a data collection table or in some sort of journal, then you're going to want to make sure that the parent is aware as to where the student is tracking that so that they can hold the student accountable at home. Another option is to encourage the parents of your students to ask their student about their Albert Analytics dashboard. By looking at their analytics dashboard in Albert, the parent can actually gain insights as to how their student is doing in mastering different concepts. If your school has never explored Albert's analytics tools or our practice questions, you can check out our pilot program in the link in the video description below. We provide a month's worth of access so that you can try our platform out with your students and see if it can help meet your needs. Our seventh and final tip when it comes to best practices during these virtual parent-teacher conferences is to make sure that you're relaxed and that you are yourself. It may seem a little obvious and a little cliche, but it's super important that you are presenting yourself professionally while also making sure that you're reminding the parent of your student that you are human too. If you found these best practices helpful today, be sure to check out our Back to School Resource Hub. In it, you're going to get a ton of free resources that cover pretty much everything related to distance learning or remote learning that you're going to need for setting up your classroom or your school for this year. Also, if you found this video helpful, we'd greatly appreciate it if you hit that like button and also subscribe, hitting that notification bell. That way, you're going to get every new video that we release when it comes to distance learning. Feel free to share this with any group of educators, whether that's on Facebook or Twitter, that you think might benefit from learning about these best practices. That's it for this time. I'm Will from the Albert team, and as I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for extra practice questions and detailed explanations, as well as a complete suite of data tools to help monitor how your students are progressing through the year, then be sure to check out our pilot program. We'd be happy to help you out. You can apply for our pilot program using the link in the video description below, and I'll see you guys there.